Welcome again to Wickerson Studios. My name is Michael Wickerson, and this is what I'm on to. I am learning C# programming, and I'm following along with uh, what would be, I thought I had it up here, but Jose Luis parametric camp, uh, which I'm flying through the C script. I've been through it once on one of the later series on scripting in Visual Studio, but I've actually found myself going back online and getting as many C# scripts as I want to use as nodes as possible. So I have ones here that I have listed. Let me just get rid of this little thing for now. I have this on kind of a Warsaw Technology Institute that I downloaded all of these. I'm certainly finding the ones I like the best. I've got a bunch of C ones here that came out of Raya ISA. The Rhino Geometry came out of that as well. I may have to scoot over to show that, but they're all on my toolbar. And I'm picking and choosing the ones that I think might be the most common. And so there's a bunch here as well. You can see there's surfaces. And I'm just staying to like a half a dozen. If I got to a dozen, it would just get crazy because you get such a power of what's in these nodes. So even though I used a range node here and I used a method get curve endpoints here, I mean, you can go and see the script of that, but it's better for me to be doing that on these simple nodes than going in and going into the curve tool, say, and just grabbing the endpoints, because I know that is that. But this one I can't get in and see any details. This one I can go in and I can learn C# exactly what's necessary. So you'll have to go in and get a start point. So you do a 3D point start point, just give it any name of that variable, and that's a curve. Take the curve and use the point at start, the dot notation to get to that, and then you do the same with another 3D point endpoint, which I call it, which is just the curve of the endpoint. So you're actually learning this, and then you're outputting the start point and the endpoint. So you understand that node better because you're going in and writing and looking at those. The other one is this one, pretty simple. Let's jump into sequence range tool, and obviously the range tool is going to pair up with this one. This one's pairing up with that one, but we can just get rid of it for now. The range tool is not going to tell me anything. It needs a domain. It needs steps. But this one, there you go. You set up your domain, and you can see it has a major effect on what's the outcome here. But I've written in here, and the range node is actually, it's something to look at. And it's got a little bit of math in here that you have to divide the domain TO. You add that to the iteration that is multiplied by the domain length divided by the steps. So you start to see the math that's in that to find the range indices of what you need, and then you output the range. So you start to script edit and script know what you're doing in case that's the direction you want to go with your work. So obviously I don't need the range node anymore because I have a C node. It's just not as convenient to pop up here and you can't just type in because my nodes have strange names, and I don't think it works if I type in method. Oh yeah, all my stuff comes up. That's crazy. Okay. I didn't even know that till now. So I might have made a mess of my ribbon tool. So if I start typing things like class, you can see that, or if I type in constructor, maybe, or struct, well, that should work. Struct, yeah, then I should get all my structures that I put together. So yeah, that's kind of nice. I didn't even think about that till now. So obviously I have a way to bring in the different nodes under the loops, but I have called them different things. I don't have a numbering system as of yet. I'm using the alphabet here. I probably have to find a system that's a little more consistent with what's happening in here. But this is just my dry run, and obviously I want to find the ones that I'm actually using a lot of. So the only thing I'm really doing in here is I'm grafting, and that's something you'd have to run into your functions and know how to script that within the C node. Also, the graph mapper is crazy, so why would I ever try and script that? It's such a wonderful node. I think I'll just use it as it is, and I know where to find it. And the rest of it, the variable pipe's also tricky in a sense of what's happening with the parameters and radii, but it would be interesting to learn how to script that. But you can see with very simple, two similar nodes. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 C nodes, and I'm using a graph mapper and a variable pipe. And with a little bit of plugins, that's a very small script, but it does an awful lot of Shazam. So let's take a look at it and see what kind of Shazam happens. I love this type of stuff. I love thinking geometrically this way. I love the fact that I can go in there. Let's make that invisible, but there's my ghosted form. If I start messing with this function, creating a sine wave, and what that does is it outputs curves and two surfaces. So it has a loft, and it also has a surface that's generated, but it's also dependent upon these curves. So it might be nice if I just grab a little geometry node. Let me just grab a basic geometry node, and we'll see the curves for one. There they are. Let's jump out of this so I can see them. Maybe jump out of everything so I can't see them, so I only see what I click. So there's the curves that are being generated through that script. There's the one surface that's being generated through that script. And then there's that loft that's generated through the script. Now, if I grab that whole thing and look at it all, watch what happens when I start to take these. This one's not so much. The unit isn't doing anything to me right now. But when I start to put it through these other iterations, I start to get some really funky, wonderful things happening. And I'm still only dealing in integers right now. So the number here is set to integer. I'd have to rewrite my script if I wanted to go to the double. So I'm just going to kind of leave that as is, generate well, that generated a few different things. So we might just leave that up at 4. Oh, heck, let's take it to 5 and see what happens. We're going to output that as a curve, and I'm only using the curves. I'm not even using the surfaces, so I don't even need to see those. I can just go in and I can grab these points, these 2 curves that are generated. Actually, let me see, there's 6 curves that are actually generated in that one. It's interesting to think where they are. Let's see, we've got 5, we've got 4. Okay, very interesting. Those are the endpoints that are being generated through that. So that's my simple endpoint node. So I've got beginnings and ends. I'm going to graft one. I'm going to flatten the other one. So I thought that was interesting to grab the curves here, grab these, and switch them up and plug them in for this tool, which is basically the Castello's interpolated Bezier curve. And that was where I really get the funk, because that script is something that's written as an algorithm, and I'm like, well, what was that initially used for? Well, that was used for kind of working with curves and breaking them up and moving them around. Like, you end up with this amazing things on a evaluate surface point. So you get this Bezier curve that comes out of it, which I simplified. But what I like is what it ends up generating. It's this wonderful piece of architecture dependent on kind of a sine surface curve. Look at the complexities of that. Really nice. And you can see what's happening there. If I take this and don't go to the, if I grafted the other one, I can match the data, and then it kind of simplifies it, or at least it should. There it goes. It simplifies. So once you get these strange shapes coming out this way, if I simplified this one, took the graph off there, you'll see how fast this goes back down into another beautiful construction and shape twisting. What a framework. Actually, I like that shark framework. And I probably need to, even though I grafted these 2, let me take these and take off these graphs. Take this one off and take this graph off. You're back down to the simple line. So look at just playing off of those endpoints into this algorithm to what you can do. So I don't know how else to put it, but just get in here, group it, and give yourself a little note on this group section and say graphed and play. And so start with that, and that'll come up. It's a little high there. It's a little overlapped on top of that method to edge. So maybe I'll go into here and get rid of that on this one, because I don't really need to see what that node is. But it says graft and play. So here we go. We've got a form. Let's throw that one into a nice graft. And let's wait for it. You get a really nice shape and forms coming out like a spinal or structural system that you would never experience without really doing this. And this is the creativity that I want to find. I really like this kind of shark bone spine structure that was, I'm just discovering it now. If I take this graft on, it's going to probably blow up in one direction again. And if I took that graft off, and the one that I started on, that puts it right back to normal. The one I started on was I had this one, the graft off, and I had this one, the graft off. And I was happy with that one. But really, as that's kind of playing around, I'm much more excited to see this grafted and to see how that one's playing off, and then take this graft off. I like the one grafted and the other one not. So that system is going to be very exciting. And then I just throw it through a variable pipe using my range that I showed earlier. I've got it on a graph mapper of probably sine curve, which I go nuts for. And that should throw me into a very nice, interesting display. Like, I would never structurally model this or make this. I have so much incredible control. This is what's going to be exciting for my students. And what I've done is I've just brought the domain down, so I can go in here and take this up to 4 and this one up to 4, and that's going to beef it up a little bit. And for those that like the soft edge on things, let's just wait for it. There we go. It's got a flat edge to it, like it's done in pipe and constructed. I'm just going to take my little pipe tool. I could put it through a value list, but I'm going to take it over to round. Now we're running at 1.7 seconds. You get these round little caps on it. Let's take that one and throw that into a bake. And there we go. What a wonderful, awesome script. We'll leave it. Um, I just love it. I mean, there's a few problems with hollow ends here. You can see that obviously the data and structurally needs to be capped and played with. You've got all these forms in here. Um, I just love it. And a few nodes in C. Now that I've empowered my ribbon tools with programming, with computational programming, nobody, I can guarantee you, has a ribbon tool like me right now, and I really am thinking of getting ready to buy plugins because to me, those are very, uh, you know, they're they're not kept simple, but they're simple enough that gets others to want to play with it, like an erector set. I want myself to build my the tools on the shelf, the items on the shelf that just don't exist, and these are pretty basics to start. But when you take half a dozen of these and bring them together, you're going to end up with geometries that just have made no sense to come into existence, and you just normally would never have done that. So I'm going to crank this one over like this. I'm going to move this one over to this side, keeping my grasshopper very tiny to appreciate it. I will save that one, probably save it as another list because I'm so excited as that is, uh, you know, yeah, do that as B, sure. Can't see it with my face on top. There we go. Um, that said, now I've got a wonderful form. Grab a little analyze, surface analysis. Haven't done environmental. Oh, in 24 hours, so best do it. Otherwise, I'll lose my mind. There we go. Nice little form as it's finished. Got little nub ends on it. There's obviously a few problems with that center section that doesn't get capped. Those pipes in the middle. But if you're interested in just creating new, and I think there is a role for people that like getting into generative or optimized forms. I'm not so interested in that. I'm kind of frivolous and pointless and have a lot of fun, and I've made a lot of sculpture and artworks that maybe haven't solved the world's problems, but I don't know how much I'm interested in, uh, depressing myself over that. I do get in here, and I make it for the sense of that possibly it hasn't been designed this way or been seen or made this way. And the more I look at this, the simpler it's starting to appear, and I start to get bored with it fairly quickly. So let's get back into another node script system. I like the idea of small node clusters done in C programming, bringing them into one another, and the possibilities are endless. So thanks again, Wickerson Studios. I'll probably start focusing my Patreon a little more in this direction, and hopefully I can get a little support. But what else am I going to do for the rest of my life except raise my kids? See ya.